All right, everybody, it's 5:30. We're going to go ahead and get started. I am recording this, and I'll throw it to the YouTube channel when we're done so that people who want to review what we talked about tonight can do that, or people who aren't able to attend can see the video. What my idea for tonight is that we will cover the hands from last night's RBC game. It was the common game. So if you go to commongame.com, you can look at these hands. They're the Tuesday night hands. So what I've done is I went back through my game last night and decided to pick up some teaching points that I thought would be relevant for tonight's audience. We'll talk about those. If you have questions, please throw them in the chat. I'll try to get to those. I did have a couple of questions from previous weeks and from today, so maybe we'll try and hit those. How about now? Is it any better? Well, let's try this. What about now? Can you hear me? Is that better?
I think it's a little better. It's not choppy, but it's not very loud.
Now. Hello?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that interruption. So, what is going on here? Okay, so we're going to go on to the hands from last night. I've got a list of things to talk about. You will throw things into the chat as you feel inclined to do so. Thank you for letting me know that the audio wasn't working so well. And the first thing I want to start off with tonight before we talk about any of the particular hands, I've gotten several questions about how you would vary your strategy or your bidding style against opponents who are better than you or who are good. And I guess my best general piece of advice would be don't change anything. I mean, just play your game and view this as an opportunity to, if they really punish you for doing something wrong, view it as an opportunity to be calibrated, right? So if you open a preempt that's kind of, maybe not so well thought out, and they end up doubling you and getting you for a penalty of 800, maybe use that as a chance to say, okay, well, this is where the preempt went wrong. This is where it went right. One thing that's probably sure to lead to a bad score is if you get intimidated by someone who's stronger than you and decide to be very passive. We all know that that's kind of a bad strategy in bridge. So if you sit back and let people run over you, that's almost guaranteed to be a bad score. And I guess my advice in general would be just like, try and not worry about it. Try and play your game. There's certainly people who intimidate me. The couple of times I've had a chance to play against very world-class opponents, and especially the first few times, I couldn't even, reason out the hands. I was so nervous. But with time, that gets better, and you realize that everybody puts their pants on the same way. And anyway, you get the gist of it. Play your game. Use the opportunity to play against stronger pairs as a chance to calibrate what you're doing right and wrong. So I hope that hits that point a little bit. We're going to go into the hands here. And I've got some notes on about 10 of the hands that we played last night. We played 22 hands. So board 1, something I wanted to talk about. And let's talk about an auction here. Let's pretend that the bidding on this one went. Pass. And I would open the east-handed diamond. Okay, you have 11 points. You have 5-4 shape. You have 2 aces. If we want to do loser count, it's 2 spades, 3 hearts, a club, and a diamond for 7. And we have a surplus of aces, so we actually take away a half trick. So we're at 6.5. This is certainly enough to open the bidding in my book. You would open a diamond. And let's say it goes past a spade. No problems yet. And East doesn't really have a balanced hand. They don't want to bid 1 no trump here and sell the idea that they've got a balanced hand. They can't rebid 2 hearts because that would be a reverse, and you have nowhere near the strength that's needed for that. So kind of, by process of elimination, you rebid 2 diamonds. And now it comes back to West. And West has a problem. You're not sure if 4 spades is the right contract, if 3 no trump is the right contract, if 5 or 6 diamonds is the right contract. Potentially, maybe even 4 hearts could still be the right contract. So you're in this situation where you want to create a force. You don't want your partner passing anywhere below game, but also you're not exactly sure what to do. So one idea is that old suits, so there's a convention called new suit forcing, right? New suits are forcing by responder, which means that old suits are not forcing. So we can't go bidding, say, 3 spades on a hand like this because our partner is welcome to dump us there. And we have way too much hand with our 16 high cards to be dumped in 3 spades. So we definitely need to do something that's forcing. We don't want to bid 2 hearts. That would be a new major, and that should show length in the major. So if you want just a catch-all, keep the ball in the air, I'm not sure what to do here, partner, bid, we actually need to be bidding 3 clubs on a hand like this. And you would type into the box, not necessarily clubs, forcing, okay, before you bid 3 clubs. And then from here on out, your partner would bid whatever she thought was the most descriptive thing to you. Maybe she chooses to bid 3 hearts on her 4-card heart suit. Maybe she chooses to bid 3 no. It doesn't look like we really want to be declaring 3 no trump with just ace and a club in the club suit and 10-4 in the heart suit. But anyway, the way that you would keep the auction open would be 3 clubs by the West hand. And that's all I have for that one. Let's go on to hand number 2. So this one started pass, and we have yet another litmus test for should we be opening the bidding with the south hand here. So I would once again look at my loser count. It's 1 spade, 2 hearts, 3 clubs, 1 diamond for 7. And I'm going to give myself half a trick of bonus because I have 2 aces and 1 queen. All right, so we're going to take our surplus of aces. It's 1 here. We're going to go down to 6.5. 7 is the threshold for opening the bidding normally. So the loser count tells me I probably should be opening the bidding. And we know that it's good tactics to open the bidding when in doubt, and we open a diamond. And West has a very normal 1 spade overcall. Looking over the results, it appeared that Souths were about 60-40 in favor of opening a diamond versus passing. Those were the only 2 options that were chosen. But West always either opened 1 spade or overcalled 1 spade. with the North hand here, I saw a couple of passes. What you have to do in this auction is double. Double is a takeout double. It's a specific type of takeout double called a negative double. And it is for the unbid suits, basically. It's for hearts and clubs. Anytime that there is one unbid major, there's definitely an emphasis on that suit. So, for instance, I couldn't imagine North making a double here without at least 4 hearts. So let's talk about quickly the other way to show hearts would be North could bid 2 hearts. Okay. The thing about 2 hearts is it promises 2 things. First of all, you have 5 hearts. Second of all, you have 10 points. So if we want to introduce hearts and we fail one of those 2 tests, we have to use the negative double first. So all that South knows about North's hand at this point is they have at least 4 hearts. Okay, they might have only 4 hearts and a very, very good hand, maybe 16 or 17 points. Or they might have 5 or 6 hearts, but they fail the 10 high card point test. Okay, so doubles takeout specifically is called negative, but the main thing it talks about is possession of the heart suit. And we throw it over to East. I saw a couple of Easts in an auction that went something like this: get cute and pass. Please don't do that. Please use this opportunity to follow one of our key principles of bidding, which is when you have a chance to show a fit for partner and limit your hand with 1 bid, you should do so. So East has a 2 spade bid here. Partner, I have 6 to 9 high card points, and I have 3 or 4 trumps for you. And the beauty of this bid is you're done now. You don't have to guess, like if your left-hand opponent bids 2 hearts and it goes pass back to you, you don't have to now bid 2 spades and let them have the luxury of exchanging information at the 2 level. Okay, if we're ultimately committed to competing to 2 spades, we want to do it right now before South has a chance to explain her hand comfortably to her partner. Okay, so ask yourself how high you're willing to compete to and do that now and rob them of the ability to describe hands at the 2 level. Okay, so now we're on South, and a couple of times that the auction went like this, I saw that South passed and let them play 2 spades. And this is a mistake. Anytime here that South has 4 hearts and they've opened the bidding, you've got to bid 3 hearts. Okay, to confirm that you have the 8 card fit in hearts. We already know that they have an 8 card fit in spades. If they have 8 spades and we have 8 hearts, like normally we're justified in bidding 3 over 2. And we need to let partner know that we've got that heart fit in case they want to do something else. Okay, so we're bidding 3 hearts here to confirm the fit and say, I don't have much extra. If I had a big hand, I could have bid 4 hearts. And since your hand is the one that's less defined, you're now in charge of this auction. So it could go 3 hearts. And I think from here, like, everyone's done. No one needs to bid anymore. West has a balanced hand with 5 spades. The hand will work well on defense the same way it works on offense. Okay, they have nothing else to say. North really has nothing else to say, particularly if we can trust that South bid 3 hearts anytime they have 4 hearts. Okay, and they would have bid 4 hearts with extras. We can pass. And East, like, notice how much easier it is now. I've already bid my hand. My partner said not interested. And we can be very comfortable being done now. We just pass. And that's how the auction would kind of go in my mind. So negative doubles with the North hand. Remember that bidding 2 hearts would show both 5 hearts and 10 points. South needs to bid 3 hearts anytime they've got 4 hearts on an auction like this. And East needs to get that 2 spade bid in immediately. It makes so much more sense to do that you know, in an auction like this than to wait for South to bid 2 hearts or 2 clubs or 1 no trump, whatever they're going to bid. Don't let her describe her hand at the 2 level. Bid your 2 spades that you're willing to bid at some point now and make life harder on them. Okay, don't like, I don't even know psychologically what this is. Like, is it tee-hee? Maybe they're going to pass 1 spade doubled and I'll have a big, I don't even know what it is. Bid 2 spades with it immediately. All right, we're going to skip hand 3 and we're going to go to 4, which is the big discussion generator, I feel like, from this set. We have questions. I'm trying to check the chat here. What are the questions? I can't figure out how to get all this.
Okay, go to, yep, chat.
Okay, we've got the chat pulled back up. Thank you. We've got some obnoxious go blue here. Okay, could North open 3 clubs or overcall 2 clubs? This is from board 1. That was 14-15. Okay, I tell you what, we're going to go back to board 1 for a second to answer Bill's question. So I'm going to do options. Tell you what, we're going to go over here to my history and board 1. This will be fun. Okay, so I think this is going to address Bill's question. We had an auction that went pass a diamond, pass spade, and I think we're at the point of the question now, which is, can North overcall 2 clubs? I would not, and for a couple of reasons. Like, first of all, you're flattish, you're 6'3", 2-2. Second of all, like, if you think about this from a, you didn't feel like the or open 3 clubs, I wouldn't, once again, because the offense to defense ratio is out of whack. Like, this hand will provide some defense and your club suit isn't real great. But if you thought about your initial opportunity to pass, which is certainly indicated, you don't want to open 1 club on this hand. If you're not willing to risk 1 club before the opponents have entered the auction, you shouldn't be willing to risk 2 clubs once the opponents transmit the information on your left, hey, I have an opening bid, and on your right, I have enough to respond. And now you come in with 2 clubs. You're putting your head on a chopping block way easier than if you open the bidding 1 club, which I'm not advocating. But notice, like, you're coming in a level higher and you actually have negative information now because you have an opening bid on your left, you had a partner who couldn't overcall, and you have a right-hand opponent who could respond. So against people who know what they're doing, this is not a good idea to come into this auction. Okay, and also, like, you're 6'3", 2-2. That's semi-balanced. Yeah, you know, opening 3 clubs would have a lot more for it if your suit were King, Queen, Jack, 10, 6th, and you had a singleton, and you had, you know, 3-3 in the other 2 suits. Then I'm fine with opening 3 clubs. But once you decide this hand isn't worth action initially, and it's not, don't come back into it later on. Okay, it's the same thing as bidding 2 spades on the other hand. Like, don't let them exchange information and then come in. That's the worst of both worlds. Okay. So let's move on to board 4. And this is the second time I've said this in one of these Zooms. We had the misfortune of playing this against the Stemkovskys. Okay, so if you haven't heard, I actually made a video about this hand this morning, but we'll talk about what's going on here. And first of all, I want to approach this. We're going to spend a lot of time on this hand, I think. First of all, I want to approach this just from the standpoint of what contract would you want to be in if you were given clairvoyance, you were given the special power to actually see partner's hand. Okay, and in bidding, we're trying to do the best we can to paint that picture for partner legally using the legal vocabulary that's allowed to us, you know, which are the numbers 1 through 7 and the strains and pass and double and redouble. But for a second, pretend I grant you clairvoyance and you can see the east-west hands. I want you to count the tricks in each of 3 potential contracts. Like, first of all, we have enough for game here. So the candidate contract should be 4 hearts, 4 spades, and 3 no trump. Okay, we have 15 opposite 13. We definitely need to be in a game, not any higher. We have an 8-card fit in each major, and 3 no trump is always a candidate. So let's count our tricks. And to not, I have a little bit more on this in a minute, but to not complicate matters, let's pretend that both the heart and the spade suit behave. Okay, that spade suit plays for 5 tricks, which it almost always will, and the hearts break 3-2. Okay, let's count the tricks. If we're in no trump, we take 5 spade tricks, 4 heart tricks, 1 club trick, and 1 diamond trick. It's pretty cut and dry. Like if they lead clubs, maybe we duck the first one in case they have a stroke or something, but they're going to return a club, and the club suit's wide open now, and we have only 11 tricks. There's no potential for another one. The second we lose the lead, they're going to run the club suit. So 11 tricks and no trump. If we played spades, it's basically the same thing, right? Spades is the same thing as no trump. You have 5 spades, you have 4 hearts, and you have the ace of clubs and the ace of diamonds. And certainly, if no trump is going to score the same amount of tricks as spades, we want to be in no trump at match point scoring because it gets that extra 10 points, which is a big deal. I've got a visual on that in a second. Let's segue to a second for it. I asked Collins Williams to hold the east-west cards constant, okay, these particular 26 cards, and to please distribute randomly the north-south 26 cards. And for each of 1,000 simulations, please tell me what was the result in hearts, what was the result in spades, and what was the result in no trump. And on exactly 0 of those 1,000 deals, spades was the winner. Okay, there were times when spades took the same amount of tricks as hearts, and it took the same amount of tricks as no trump, but if that's the case, we want to be in no trump. There was nothing in the sample where spades took more tricks than hearts. Okay, 0 out of 1,000. So going back to the heart candidate, we again have those 11 tricks we've talked about previously, but if we can get the heart suit to break 3-2, which it's going to do almost exactly 2/3 of the time, 2/3 is certainly close enough for government work on this one, we get the 5 spades, we get the 4 hearts, we get the ace of clubs, we get the ace of diamonds, and when we play our 4th spade and our 5th spade, we can pitch a club from the dummy. And if their trumps break 3-2, we can rough our 3 of clubs with one of dummy's trumps and bring our trick total to 12. Okay, so it's very important to be in the 4-4 heart fit versus the 5-3 spade fit here. and again, going back to Collins's numbers, 322 times out of 1,000, no trump, scored exactly the same number of tricks as hearts. We already talked about spades was never a winner. Spades never dominated the other two options. 322 out of 1,000. What does that sound almost exactly like? It sounds almost exactly like the 1 in 3 times that hearts don't break 3-2. Okay? And the other 678 times it paid to be in hearts. So we want to be in hearts on this hand. If you're in 4 hearts on this hand, you end up with a score of 80%. If you're in 4 spades on this hand, you end up with a score of 33%. That's a big difference for 30 points. Okay? Now, some of you might know that my wife works for a software company that produces statistical analysis, in graphical form. So I took all the data that Collins gave today and asked her to come up with, help me with maybe a PowerPoint slide for graphically how to show this hand. All right, here it is. Here it maybe is. Oh, come on. Give me just a second here. Sorry about this. I know this is a great webcast here. Here we go. Okay, there's what Audrey's fancy jump software produced for a graphical representation of the score on this board. You will notice on the x-axis is what the raw scores were. So sometimes we had -100. There were a couple of people who got carried away and bid 6 spades, and that's going to go off 1. And if you scored -100 on this deal, you get 3.3%, and your percentage scores on the y-axis. You will notice there's kind of a cluster of dots around between +650 and +690. And +650 scores 33%, which was something we just said. All the way up to, +680 scored 80%, which we also noted. And if you happen to get +690, which is not a legitimate score, the defense would have to slip a trick to allow you to score 690, you would get 93%. Also, out on the very right, there were a couple of people who bid 6 hearts. I mean, well done. You get 100%. You would have gotten most of the meat off the bone by just being in hearts rather than spades. But if you happen to bid 6 hearts, you would get 100% on the board. What I want you to take away from this graph is that entire 750-point range from -100 to 650, basically that's the difference in going down and making. That delta, that area on the y-axis, is only worth 30% of a board. The difference between +650 and +680, which is in green on the graph, and green means money, means match points here, that's the difference between 80% on the board and 33% on the board. That's half right there. Just getting those 30 points between 650 and 680. That's where you make your money. Okay, that's more important than getting from -100 to 650. You want to be in the right strain when you've got a choice of a 4-4 fit versus a 5-3, okay? And you want to take your tricks. On this hand, it kind of happened that, like, my smart dog can take 12 tricks, but you know, there's going to be deals where there's a little bit of a challenge involved in getting from 11 tricks to 12 tricks. Keep in mind that that is often where you get most of the meat off the bone as far as match point scoring goes. I don't see any questions on this, so we're going to go on to board 7. What did we have here? South has a hand that kind of ties in what we've been talking about opening 1 versus opening 2 versus passing. So I looked at this hand, and I really don't preempt all that much, but it seemed like a hand I definitely wanted to open. The first thing I wanted to do was make sure that it didn't make sense to open it at the 1 level. And if we do our loser count, it's 3 spades, 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, and 1 heart. Okay, that's 8. I'm not going to double count our surplus of queens because I already counted 2 losers in the diamond suit. 8 losers is too much to open at the 1 level. And the second thing I'm going to consider is, should I open a 2 heart preempt? And we're going to throw these things into the preempt calculator, right? Or the scales, and figure out, well, should we be doing this or not? So the relevant factors are, what seat are we in? And here we're in first seat, which is a positive for us. The reason first seat is a positive is because we have 2 opponents to steal from and only 1 partner. 2-to-1 odds, those are odds I like. The second thing we'd look at is vulnerability. And here we have neutral vulnerability. We're vulnerable, but so are they. That's kind of a wash. Another thing I would look at is, how many tricks of offense do I have if hearts are played? And the answer is, I probably have something like 4.5 tricks if I play hearts. Like I probably get a long heart or 2. I probably get 2 out of the 3 top hearts. Maybe I get the queen of diamonds. I mean, the queen of diamonds is a better card on defense, but I'm looking at something like 4.5. And then I'll compare that with how much defense I have. Like, how much would I hate defending a spade contract, for instance? And the answer is, like, this is a reasonably good defensive hand. The queen of diamonds might come into play on defense. The ace queen of hearts might come into play on defense. Say I have 2 tricks of defense. You don't have what's an ideal preempt. And when I say ideal preempt, that would be king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 6 of hearts, and nothing else, such that you have all offense and no defense. Remember that the ace of the suit that you're considering preempting in is actually something to put in the minus column, because aces work on defense. Like if your partner has a singleton, leads over to your ace, and you give them a rough, like, we're contributing a lot to the defense. In the calculus of everything, I think this is enough. There are enough reasons here to open the bidding 2 hearts. Okay? Even I opened the bidding 2 hearts here. And it went pass. And, you know, North might bid 3 hearts here. I feel like with a flat hand and vulnerable, it's not the right idea. And it's also not going to lead into my next point so well. If you wanted to bid 3 hearts here, I think that's okay. But let's stick with pass for a second, which was the way the auction proceeded at many of the tables. So the mistake I saw here was that many easts were doubling with this hand. And the problem with double is that, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, you don't define your hand super well. Okay, what partner should kind of think when you make a takeout double is, okay, he's short in their suit, he has support for any other suit, and he has something resembling an opening hand. And we might be doubling on anywhere between 11 and the rest of the deck almost. You know, we have a very wide range as far as points go. And we might have 5-4-3-1 shape. We might be 4-4-3-2. We might be 5-3-3-2. As far as our shapes go, like there's kind of a lot of ground we've got to cover with one bid that is double. And the universe of hands that you could have when you double is much wider than this other option that you have, which is bidding 2 no trump with this hand. Okay, 2 no trump says, I have a strong no trump. I probably have a double stopper in their suit, certainly at least one, and I have between 15 and 18 points. And that's exactly what East has on this hand. So make the 2 no trump bid that confines your hand and lets your partner really drive the auction, take over the captaincy, rather than doubling and your partner has if you think about it like a microscope, like the 2 no trump bid focuses the lens very, very tightly, whereas the double doesn't do that. Your 2 no trump bid here describes the fact that you have a double stopper in hearts. It describes your point count. It describes the fact that you don't have 4 spades, which is another reason not to double. So it gets kind of everything out with one bid. Bid 2 no trump with this hand rather than doubling. And how it could proceed from here is like maybe partner bids Stayman, and you don't have a spade suit, and you end up in 3 no trump, and this one isn't going to be pretty. People that were in 3 no trump went down, very, very, very often, and it's legitimate. It's kind of like it's predestined that East-West probably gets to 3-0 on these hands. But the main point is bid 2-0 in the balancing seat, not double. Make the bid that more tightly defines the important characteristics of your hand. All right, let's go on to board 9. Ah, yes. This is going to be an opening lead, auction and opening lead hand. It's going to go pass. The East hand, despite having 10 points, is not the kind of hand I want to open light. I have the minor suits. I have soft values. I don't see any reason to open this hand. And we go to West, who has a balance 23, I believe. So our balanced hands are very formulaic, right? 11 to 14 opens 1x and rebids a no trump. 15 to 17 opens 1 no trump. 18 to 19 opens the 1 level and rebids 2 no trump. 2 no trump shows 20 to 21. So when we have 22 plus, we need to start with our strong artificial bid of 2 clubs. Does 2 no over 2 hearts indicate both minors? Oh, rewinding for a second, back to that last hand. 2 hearts pass pass. 2 no trump is a strong no trump. It's 15 to 18 balanced with heart stoppers. Hopefully, it's not unusual. We need that to show a strong no trump. Okay, going on with this hand. Goes 2 clubs, pass, and East keeps the bidding open with 2 diamonds, and should probably be thinking in the back of their head like, oh, that's interesting. I almost opened, and my partner has a strong 2 club bid. And West bids 2-0 here, again following the principle of define your hand in one fell swoop. This is like 22 to 24 balanced. And I don't want to get too scientific about ways that the East-West could bid this hand. If you think about it, 6 diamonds is probably where you want to end up on the 4-4 fit again, rather than the 6-2 fit, right? Because if we play diamonds as trumps, we lose 1 club. If we play clubs as trump, we lose 2 clubs. So if we're in a slam, 6 diamonds is probably the best slam to be in. But let's say that East-West, they don't have any fancy methods. They're really not sure. You know, they last talked about this over dinner 3 years ago, and they don't really know what's going on. You play with this person once every 3 months, and you'll find yourself in this position a lot in bridge. I mean, maybe you have your tournament partner that you're used to playing with, but we all, you know, rotate partners around, and we're not sure we're on solid ground in all kinds of auctions. So let's pretend East reasons, well, look, I've got a 10 count. I've got a 6-card club suit. That's got to be worth something. My partner purports to have 22 balanced. I'm just going to go ahead and shove this into 6 no trump. And that's not crazy thinking, I don't think. But let's say it goes like this to illustrate the next point. 6 no trump was reached at least several times. If I look here, 6 no trump was reached 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and the board was played 16 times. So exactly half the time, 6 no trump was the final contract, and 7 out of 8 of those times it was declared by West. I want to put you in the North seat's position. If you hear this auction, the person on your right has said, I have 23, give or take 1. The person on your left has said, I have 10, and I don't have a major. If I had a major, you would have heard something like transferring or stamening, something. What the dummy rates to have on this auction is, you know, somewhere between 7 and 10 minor cards and about a 10 count that couldn't quite open the bidding. If you think about things in terms of that, so the opponents have somewhere in the neighborhood of 33 points. I'm looking at 5. Pretty much the most that I could hope that my partner has is a jack or a queen. And realize that if you lead something like the 3 of clubs here, what you are logically playing your partner for is the ace of clubs, which he can't have, or the jack of clubs, which he might have. But if you just think of things in terms of probability, isn't it very likely that the opponents are going to be relying on club tricks to get to 12 tricks here? And isn't it very likely that the person on your right has the ace of clubs, being as how he has advertised 23 of their 33 assets? And if you think about it that way, I think you can get away from a textbook or a blameless 4th best from your longest and strongest. Like, you've got to do some thinking on opening lead. You don't want to be the kind of player who says, like, well, I led from my 4th best, blah, 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 and never does any thinking, because, you know, that has the great value of not carrying any accountability if you just follow rules. But you'll find your results do much better if you think about what's going on at the table. So let's imagine what happens on the king of clubs lead. Well, the player just knocks out the queen of clubs and has 12 tricks. What happens on a small club lead? Well, the player puts up the jack from the dummy and now has 2 clubs, 4 diamonds, 3 hearts, 2 spades, and if they need to take the spade hook, that's working. They're going to make their contract. What happens if you just lead something passive like the 10 of hearts? The player doesn't have 12 tricks on this lead, and it's entirely predictable. Okay, so long and short of it is, you can't lead without listening to the auction. Okay, you can't lead in a vacuum, and always ask yourself what the logical consequences are of the lead that you're making. So here, if we lead the 3 of clubs, logically, we are saying, I'm placing a bet. Think about it as going to a casino and going to the betting, or I don't even know what it's called when you place a sports bet. You go to some counter and you say, I want North Carolina minus 5 points to do this or whatever it is, what you're doing when you lead the 3 of clubs is saying, I want to bet that my partner has the ace of clubs. Wrong. We already know that's wrong. Or the jack of clubs. And this is a lead that's necessary to beat the contract. Those just aren't very good odds. So I think every time that 6 no trump was played, North led a club, and the clues that would lead you to not leading a club are definitely present on most of the auctions that got to 6 no trump. Let's go to 12. Checking the chat. Don't see anything since does 2 no over 2 heart indicate both minors. What did I have on this? Oh, let's go to the auction on this one. All right, West gets first crack at it and has a very nice hand. 17 points, 5-5 in spades and clubs. If we do our loser count, we are at 4, I think. So a very good hand. And the first thing here is what should East bid? And I think there's probably 2 reasonable options. Those being either bid 1 no trump, assuming that's forcing, you're playing 2 over 1, that's forcing. The other reasonable option is 2 diamonds. I am going to tend towards bidding 2 diamonds with this hand for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's close. And if it's close, I want to go ahead and start bidding my pattern so that even if we're stretching a little bit, we probably get to the right spot, like as far as what trumps are. So that's one idea. The other idea is this hand is improved when my partner opens a spade. Okay, because that queen of spades is known to be a good card now. It's almost always a good card. Compare it with if you flip-flopped your black suits and give yourself the 5-3 of spades and the queen X of clubs. Well, if that were the case, we wouldn't know that the queen of clubs was pulling its value. Okay, the queen of clubs might be opposite 3 small, in which case it's not worth anything. But if the queen X of spades is opposite your partner's opening hand that has at least 5 cards in that suit, it's an upgrade. So all of that being said, I'm willing to do a 2 over 1 with this East hand. And I would bid 2 diamonds. And we come back to West. An advanced point that I don't want to get into tonight is whether or not West can bid 3 clubs without extra values. So there are a lot of pairs that play that even in a 2 over 1 game forcing auction, if you were to bid 3 clubs on this hand, you would be showing extra values. And here, West actually happens to have extra values. West has every bit of extra values, and despite or regardless of what style you're playing, West could bid 3 clubs. And East can now bid 3 no trump, right? She doesn't have 3-card spade support, doesn't have an extra diamond, doesn't have, any interest in exploring clubs as a trump contract, and has the king 10 fourth of the unbid suit. So I think you could bid 3 no trump here. There's a couple of reasons why I brought up the fact that West might be showing extra values with 3 clubs and might not be. If you were playing a style such that 3 clubs just described, say, 5-5 pattern, maybe you couldn't bid 2 hearts because you don't have 4. You couldn't bid 2 spades because your partnership plays that a rebid of spades would show 6. You couldn't rebid 2 no trump because you don't really have that shape. Maybe you just forced into bidding 3 clubs because that's what your shape is. Say the same hand without the ace of clubs. Turn the ace of clubs into the 3. If you had that type of hand at this point, you could just pass 3 no trump. you would know that 3 no trump is right. If you don't have the agreement that 3 clubs already showed a good hand, like much better than you opened the bidding with, the problem here is we still might have enough stuff for slam. And if you haven't promised extra values at this point, one idea might be that you would bid 4 no trump with the West hand, which is, it's quantitative. It's just, I have extra values. It's natural. It's still suggesting no trump, right? But it's saying I have a whole lot extra than you might have expected. And then East, has no problem passing. This isn't Blackwood. It's just, it's a quantitative invite to a slam. And East could very simply pass 4 no trump and hope that there are 10 tricks available, which there are. But notice that West needs to decide on whether passing 3 no trump is right or bidding on is right relative to the partnership's agreement about what the range on the 3 club rebid is. Okay, so that's what I had on that one. And 19 is the last one. We got about 10 minutes left here. 19 is the last one I had a point to make about. Oh, okay. The south hand and the south situation, this is one of the times that I will consider opening a week 2 on 5 cards. And the reason I'm thinking about doing that are, back to the earlier discussion about what goes into the cauldron when you're deciding whether to open a preempt or whether to open 1 or whether to pass. I definitely don't have enough to open 1 spade. Not even I have enough to open 1 spade here. Yeah, we could go ahead and check the loser count. It's 8, right? 8.5, I guess, because you have a queen without an ace. So we're not opening 1 spade. We could pass, but we could also open 2 spades because we have a pretty good offense to defense ratio. Like if we play spades, we're probably contributing 4 tricks of offense and no tricks of defense. The other thing we have going in our favor is we're not vulnerable, they're vulnerable. The other thing we have going in our favor is we are first chair, such that we're getting 2-to-1 odds on who it is we're stealing from. The one thing I will say is that when we go back to talking about offense to defense, when you've only got a 5-card suit, it's very likely that King, Queen, Jack, 5th is a trick of defense. Okay, because now it's much more likely that everyone at the table has 2 cards in the spade suit, and that we can lead the king of spades and win the queen on the second round. So we probably do have a trick of defense here, about 4 tricks of offense. I'm willing in this scenario to open a 5-card week 2, and I actually did at the table. Okay, so I went 2 spades. And here's actually a place where I would go ahead and bump it up to 3 with the north hand, because we're white on red and I have 3 trumps. Compare it with earlier when we didn't with a flat hand because we were vulnerable. Okay. And East is under much more pressure here than they would be if it went 2 spades, pass, pass. I think that East has too few spades and too much hand to pass here. So I think that a lot of people are doubling with this East hand. And now we come to an interesting decision for the West hand. So these are the things I would be thinking. Well, partner has a good hand. She potentially forced me to bid at the 4 level without assurance that I really have many values, and I actually have 11. What I'm nervous about is I can't bid 3 no trump because they'll just run the first 6 spades at me, and that'll be really embarrassing. And we'll be minus 200 when we have 28 high card points. That seems ridiculous. I don't want to bid hearts because I only have 3 of those. That doesn't seem right. I could bid 4 diamonds, but how's partner going to know the difference between my having 11 points in a balanced hand and having, 6 diamonds and a 5 or 6 count? Well, the answer is they're not going to, right? And then I remember, like, balanced hands are made for defending. And I think you can come to the conclusion that really the best thing to do with the West hand, rather than guess what suit to bid, or rather than bidding 3 no trump and being off the first 6 tricks, or rather than bidding 4 hearts and potentially playing like a 3-3 fit or a 4-3 fit, you kind of just shrug and pass, right? And you lead a trump and you hope that they don't have enough tricks here. If you look at the East-West hands, like, they cannot make a game. They can't make 3 no trump. They can't make 4 hearts. So the only equity they have to protect on this hand is like 140. And we are definitely getting more than 140 if we just pass out the double of 3 spades. Okay, so you'll find yourself in situations like this sometimes where you've got a balanced hand, the bidding is at a high level, your partner's made a takeout double under some pressure, you're not sure what suit to bid, just pass. And even though you don't the West hand doesn't have natural trump tricks, they're not like passing from a purely penalty standpoint. They're just saying, like, I'm not sure what we can make beyond this. Let's just hope that we've got enough high cards that you can't make 3 spades. And that would be a winner on this auction, right? That is the end of the hands that I have to discuss. I don't see anything else in chat. I guess we'll do a quick review. Make bids that tightly define your hand the first time you have the opportunity. Don't get cute and pass and then come back in on the second round of the auction after your opponents have had the chance to exchange information. Put your opponents in tough spots. Make them bid at the 3 level instead of at the 2 level. Okay. We talked about negative doubles. Like, if we bid a new suit at the 2 level, say it goes, my partner opens a diamond, they bid a spade on my right. If I bid a new suit at the 2 level, that shows 10 high card points plus and 5 plus cards in the suit. Anytime you feel like you want to get involved, and you don't know what to do, that's what double is for. And double is a takeout double, a negative double. It has emphasis on any unbid major or majors. And, continued thoughts on when we want to be opening the bidding light versus not. And the idea back from hand 4, we want to be playing the 4-4 fit instead of the 5-3 fit. And that area between plus 620, or I guess in this case, between plus 650 and plus 680, that's where all the nectar is. That's making that extra trick from playing the cards better, or being in the right strain, being in hearts instead of spades. That is so often worth more than even making a game versus not making a game. Train yourself to think that the concept of making or bidding a game versus not bidding a game is often quite arbitrary. All that matters is that you get 1 point from every pair you beat, be it by 10 points, be it by 1,000,000 points, and you lose the opportunity to score 1 point on the flip side of that. Okay? I don't see any questions. I hope that everyone knows how to do that, so that maybe we'll have more next time. What we're planning to do going forward is the specific topic videos like Trump leads. I'm going to throw those into the YouTube channel, and we're going to use the Wednesday videos for a review of the Tuesday night hands. And for question answers, either you throw them in the chat or you email me sometime between Tuesday night and Wednesday. A reminder that there is a virtual game that Chris hosts at 7 o'clock. The RBC has a 0 to 100 game and an open game tomorrow night. And then we'll rinse and repeat and be back at you next week. Hope you enjoyed this and got something good from it. See all you guys at the bridge table and next week. All right, later, everyone.